All right. We'd like to welcome everyone to the Trampled Underfoot podcast show. Your hosts, Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo. We're back at you live. What's going on, everyone? What's up, Mark?
Oh man, just busy, busy, busy. We're having typical Oregon springtime weather again. I posted a video over on my Facebook page.
Yeah,
It was 84 degrees last Thursday, and it started snowing last night.
I saw that on
It,
your
it
post.
was just, it's crazy. Of course, it's too warm. The snow didn't stick, but now we're under a winter. We were under a winter storm warning until about 1 o'clock this afternoon. And then they lowered it down to a winter storm advisory, but they still say 40% chance of thunderstorms. So if I disappear, that's what's going on. We lost power because of the thunderstorm. So, you know, just be warned, I guess.
It's crazy how I mean, it was pleasant over the weekend because
Hmm.
we're getting a little bit of that residual from you guys all across the rest of the country.
Hmm.
But today it was pleasant, but it's still hot compared to every other part of the United States. To be honest with you, I mean,
Yeah. Well, you
it's
guys
just
have the humidity thing. So
it's just
you,
freaking hot, dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I I don't know. I hesitate to say I would trade you, but I'd send you some of this 46 degrees we have right now. I just wish it would warm up a little bit more than this. But hey, it beats the alternative. It's good to be alive.
Um. Oh, I did see a channel,
Okay.
from across a channel that this is actually not what I had mentioned before. This is just something else. But there's this young lady somewhere in the middle of the country, somewhere who knows where, Kansas, Oklahoma, I don't know, or Arizona. I think it's Arizona. Um, and she's an opera and vocal teacher type girl, young
Hmm.
lady, and she's got this whole reaction video thing, kind of the theme that, and she goes through all the heavy metal and rock bands and like just the Ozzy Osbournes and all these people, and I found it very. I've watched quite a few of her videos. Number one, she's really a attractive lady, but her facial expressions, um, and reaction to the music, and then her follow up commentary on the music is very instructive, incisive, on on the techniques that are being used vocally and the music, and I find it super interesting. She did one of Dio and whatnot, so that I kind of dug.
Is this the charismatic voice?
That's her.
Okay, yes, I've seen a few of her videos. She kind of gets off on a few tangents, musically speaking,
Hmm.
of groups that not interested in, or singers that I'm not interested in. But
Yeah,
she's done quite a bit of very good videos. She's
yeah,
a vocal coach and comes at it from that angle,
yeah.
but she does understand arrangements and everything else. And
Hmm.
I yeah, I've enjoyed several of her videos.
Yeah.
Now, there is another woman, I don't know where she's living. And I can't remember her first name. She says, but I can't remember. But her channel is called Soprano Notes, and she's also an opera singer.
Okay.
And I I got into a Rush phase a few months back, and she took the tune Limelight by Rush and she broke it down. I mean, she's watching them perform this song live. And she broke this whole thing down from the time signatures to their transitions from one time signature to another, and how it's going, how those transitions work, and the methods and techniques that they're using, each of the vocalist and the bass, and then over to Alex on the guitar, and then back to the drums. And it is the most complete breakdown of that song I have ever seen or heard in my life. And If you just listen to that song, it's just a few minutes long. But I mean, she really took a deep dive into that tune and brought out things that I would have never picked up on. I heard when listening to the tune, but I didn't know why they did it. And she got in and explained, like one part where Geddy Lee all of a sudden on his bass just starts hammering with eighth notes. And she goes back in the video to highlight that and then explains what he's doing, why he's doing it. And then the transition where those eighth notes stop and you get back into the flow of the song, and how he's building momentum to get you ready for this crescendo
Yeah,
that eventually does come, and then back off to give you room to breathe again and
yeah,
everything. I'd never seen a breakdown like that, and it was really fascinating.
yeah. I kind of like that because you. And by the way, Rush is a very technical and well. They create their songs really well.
Yes, very much so.
Independent of one's liking of the particular song or not, they are created very well. They're enjoyable in my opinion, but people may differ with their liking of the band and
Sure.
whatnot. But their actual style and composition
Mhm.
techniques are just incredible. But yeah, I agree. I like the breakdowns because they sort of like you get to look at it from a different lens,
Yes,
and I like that. There
me
is
too.
something to be said about just listening to it and letting your own imagination like run wild, but this is good too, so I like the fact that this exists.
Well, that's all I've ever done because I'm not a musician. I was the more pedestrian listener. I was more interested in the lyrical content and maybe a, an alternate meaning to lyrics,
Mhm.
you know. But I never really. I mean, obviously, I listened to the melody and I listened to the time signature and everything, but I never really broke it down to figure out why they're doing this way,
Yeah,
why they didn't do it another way, because I've never been behind the scenes when it comes to music. I know what I like and I play what I like. But getting that technical explanation made me hear things that I had never heard before, or made me hear things in a different way. It's like that. Um, there's another channel out there where he basically focuses on the Beatles, and it's called "You Can't Unhear This." And he warns you. He gets into a few things and he talks about it. He says, "But here's a fair warning: once you hear this, you can't unhear it."
yeah, I've seen that video, that
And
channel before.
he has brought to light quite a few things. And I've been listening to Beatles songs since I was born. You know, he's brought to light quite a few things that were just kind of tucked away in the background, or I heard but didn't know what I was hearing.
Yeah,
That song "Rain" by the Beatles. You get very to the very end, and they're just before they start fading out, and John Lennon is singing. There's a line that you can't understand, and it just kind of sounds like gibberish. And then he gets back into singing "Rain," and they fade out. Turns out what that is when the rain comes, they run and hide their heads, played backwards. So there are really no words that you could say that would mimic that sound, because you'd have to play that first
yeah,
line of the tune backwards.
yeah.
But now that I know that, it makes sense. So, you know,
Very exciting stuff too, to hear all those little effects for the first time, maybe when it came out or when you
mhm,
heard it for the first time, as opposed to now. I don't have the same surprise when I hear a backwards guitar,
mhm,
um, and all those neat things. Like when I first heard them, they were so
yes,
potent, but to see them in this manner, like you're saying, through somebody else's, analysis, kind of gives you that little second, breath, or second, what do they call it? Second flight or whatever. Second wind.
Mhm.
You get that second one in and get to see it in a new way or listen to it in a new way, and I like that. So yeah,
Well, yeah, it to me it kind of it gives me a new sense of excitement for the tune. I mean, I may have heard I've heard Rain probably, oh gosh, countless times in my life, but until that part came along, I had no idea that that's what was going on. I just thought maybe John Lennon was going off on some tangent, but it was an engineered piece that they put in on purpose. It
yeah,
wasn't like something that they took from, they blended a bass line in from another session and somebody was hollering in the background. That was in another song. But and they ended up using that cut because it was the best one, and
yeah,
they played something over it so you didn't really hear the person hollering unless you listened for it. And I don't remember which song it was, but they all kinds of weird little hidden nuggets within the music that kind of gives me, like I said, more excitement for that song and makes me want to hear it more and more and more often.
yeah.
So
It's hard to it once you've had a good decade or two or three or four of a song. Um, it's hard to recapture that magic and that impulse. Uh, Not all the time. There's songs that do it for me still, but
yeah,
they're far less than before. There's a few select ones, and it's funny. Um, some of the songs that I would have completely trashed back in the day, just because they played when I was around and never paid attention to, it, was like, you know,
yeah,
that's not heavy metal. Screw that.
yeah.
Um, Now I have fondness for them when they pop up on the
Hmm.
radio, and I'll find myself, pumping up the jams to something that back in the day would have been considered he- heresy.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Um,
know,
Rush is a good example of that. I was never really into them during their heyday.
yeah,
I got into them much, much, much later. And it
yeah,
was Tom Sawyer that made me do that. When I actually listened to what was going on in that song, I was like, holy cow, this is some good stuff. This is spectacular level stuff. Are you kidding me? And this is three guys? It's like it can't be just three people. But sure enough it is. And I kind of overdosed on them, but because I mean, then you get into YYZ and Spirit of Radio. Spirit of Radio is an excellent tune as well. But yeah, anyway, um,
no, yeah, yeah.
it,
They're a
it
great band. There's no way around it,
mhm,
and it's just there's some incredibly magical, moments in their songs. They're great. They're a great band. That's a
mhm,
good example. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
because you could easily pass it up. You could say, "Oh,
And I
this sounds weird" or
and I
whatever.
did for a few years, but my partner. Oh gosh, we're going way back now. I was like 18 or 19 years old. My partner at the time, I called him my partner. I mean, we were damn near inseparable. Bruce, he was hot and heavy into Rush, but he was the one of those guys who got mad when they incorporated synthesizer. He wanted to go back to the fly by night days when it was just
Good.
drums, bass, guitar. That's
Yeah,
it. That was good Rush. What is this synthesizer garbage? They're
yeah,
going pop on me and everything. No, they exploded, dude. But I didn't really care. I was into other stuff at the time, and I didn't really pay much attention to them
yeah.
until oh gosh, mid to late '90s, something like that. So, but what can you say?
No, good stuff to come across all this music that we did um, for the first time, and I had at least 2 decades of good stuff since the '50s, or three
Yeah.
actually, of stuff that I could dig back in and pull from, and I did. And that was good stuff, dude. That
Well,
was
that's one of the reasons I fell so hard down that rabbit hole of reaction videos and reaction channels because I've been listening to this music all my life and you can't experience it for the first time again.
no,
but I can live vicariously through other people who are experiencing it for the first time
That's right.
themselves. And to me, it's a lot of fun to hear somebody discover the Doobie Brothers, or to hear somebody put on some Credence and go, dang, this is good. I've heard all their music. You know, I was 6 years old, 7 years old when my dad brought home the first Credence album. And so I've been listening to this my entire life, just about. And first, I have, well, not really anymore. At first, I had a hard time believing, you mean you're 20 years old and you've never heard this before? Come on, what are you, living under a rock? No, people have their own lives. They have different experiences, and maybe they're
That,
off onto something else.
that's completely. That's a good point to make. I'd like to expand on for no other reason than I've been thinking about that
Hmm.
that issue. And I have mentioned it before, but that to me, my understanding right now, as far as I can reach right now, um, we are literally living our own lives, and that's a given. But um, we're also, it looks like, where it seems that apart from living our own lives, I've got this fly that decided to jump on my shit right now, and I even cussed live. Well, that was natural.
Yeah, now you know why they call them bugs.
Uh, um, in any event, so I almost let me see if I can backtrack because that stupid little creature, I snuffed its lights out though. I can tell you that much.
Hmm.
Um, so although we live our own lives, but we do share a lot of things, and we could easily be fooled into thinking that we, generally speaking, think within the same space
Hmm.
from one another, and even worse than that, that even though we're speaking the same language, like let's say us here right now,
Hmm.
um, that the words within that same language that we're utilizing, that language tool that we're utilizing, that the words, even though there's textbook dictionary meaning definitions to them, that we apply them equally, and that they have the same weight in your experience as they do in mine,
Right.
or the same positive, neutral, or negative, connotation to them as well. So I've been thinking about this for a while now, but since you brought up that little thing that I decided to throw this out just for the heck of it. So in a very real way, even though miraculously we're working it out and we're communicating to a
Sure.
certain level, but in a certain way, we're also, in certain ways within that, we're also like aliens. Like visiting to talk to another person is kind of like to talk to another alien world. There's a lot of commonalities, but there's, you don't quite know what the next person.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, you don't know their story. And,
Yeah.
in the context of music, you take a person who has grown up, been exposed to country music all their life and doesn't know AC/DC from ZZ Top, you play them music that we've grew up on and been hearing for 30, 40, 50 years. They've never heard it before because they've never been exposed to it. But somehow we, as the listener or the viewer, well, how could you not have heard this? Well, quite easy.
Yeah.
It's very easy. If you are surrounded by nothing but, well, you take somebody in Spain, they may or may not have ever heard of any of the rock groups that we have listened to because it's not their style of music. They just don't care. It's not that it's not around or they don't have access to it. It's just not what they're interested in. So it's quite easy for people to go their whole lives and not have ever heard of these groups or ever heard of this music or what have you.
Yeah, yeah. What we think is a standardized thing is probably for most people in the world, you could say, just completely not in their purview.
Well, but not only that, you also have regional and cultural differences in that there are some seriously kick-ass British bands we have never heard of because just for one reason or another they never made it over here. And the same with Australia or any other English-speaking country. There are some seriously good bands out there. We have absolutely no idea who they are.
So if we could we can we get those bands over, and could we trade could we trade back could we trade back our experience with the Rolling Stones, and we'll just bring some new people in.
The Stones are here to stay.
You know,
I mean, from the looks of it, they're here to stay forever because,
yeah, yeah, they go on and on
and keep
on
going.
and on and on.
I know.
Actually, Mick Jagger, I have told you, I don't know if you remember that, but he did visit the place I used to work out in the Everglades, and took an airboat tour.
No, you never did tell me about this.
So, and I wasn't there that day. It was the day that I was off. But my friend took him out on a private tour, and what he said. And by the way, a bunch of actors and musicians would always show up.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout the year, you'd get your private tours and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so my friend's description of Mick Jagger is that, first of all, he had no idea who the heck this person was.
Mm-hmm.
All he knew is that he came down walking, and he had these two tall model-like ladies on either side of him, and he was this tiny, frail, short guy with a huge brimmed, sort of like, I can't call it a Panama hat, but it was kind of like one of those large brimmed, sort of like Caribbean hats, or going through the bush type hats. It's just a funny thing. And he was skinny, and this is your private tour, the boss told him. So he took him out, and it took him a little while, and he saw under the hat kind of, and he realized it was Mick Jagger. And so he took him out on tour. But he said that he had, just looking at him, you would have no, other than the fact that there was these two models next to him, you would have no freaking idea. It wouldn't even cross your mind.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't know what that would be like. This is getting way off onto another tangent here, but the life of a celebrity, what it must be like to not be able to go anywhere without being recognized, and have to resort to doing that. Put on a big, huge hat and cover yourself up and kind of keep your head down so that people don't notice who you are, so you could live a normal life, Because this guy just wanted to go on a boat ride out in the Everglades and wanted to see what millions of tourists have seen, every day. But he's got to go to those kind of extents to be able to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I was oblivious, but I had taken Sean Penn out for an airboat tour. That you remember I had said, right?
Yes, I do remember you told me about that, yeah.
Thinking back on it, I should have done certain things different, but right away, so that angle that you're expressing about, anonymity, anonymity, that angle of it, I just threw it out the door. He came right up with his also actress wife, and 2 kids, and without even, before me, I was like, "Hey, Sean."
Yeah.
And the problem is this, that it was the natural thing for me to do, because you see the guy and it's Sean Penn, and you just say Sean. But the proper thing to do, and I knew it then, to be honest with you, I said, oh man, I can't go back to, so sir, I can't go back to none of that, because I had already opened the gate on that. So I ruined it, that, aspect of it. But the proper thing would have been to address as sir, and at least pretend, because that part of it has nothing to do with the moment that is being had. He's paying for an airboat tour and has nothing to do with now I did do that. It's funny, And by the way, I kept referring to when he'd ask a question, I referred to him to his name directly, and it's not like there's something wrong with it in intrinsically, because it's his name, but the fact that I know his name because he's plastered all over the place and he's doing a vacation thing, and now even on vacation thing, this savage, because we're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, everybody that goes there, they look at these airboat tour guides and they're like, these people are some wild animals. These people are savages from the swamps. These people have never gone and seen electricity before. That's kind of the ambience you get when you're out there, that you give off, because just your environment. And so it's very weird. I should have done that, but uh out in California, um so I went to a supermarket, and I did mention this before, but it kind of correlates. And I did do that. I did act like I didn't know the person. I went up to a flower stand. I'm looking at the flowers, and right next to me, a guy walks up and he's looking at the flowers. I'm not paying attention. He says, "Hey, excuse me," he says to me. And I turn my head, and I'm looking straight, dead in the eye to Keither Sutherland.
Kiefer Sutherland, yeah.
Dead smack, eyeball to eyeball. By the way, at that point in time, about 20 some odd years ago, um, I had already been a fan of Keither since um, uh, the Lost Boys, since Young Guns. Like,
Hmm.
the guy to me was like a badass
Hmm.
already. So I knew the guy, like on TV and the movies and whatnot. He's right dead smack looking at me. I'm looking at him. He says, "So," and he grabs one of the flowers. "Do I just grab these and pay him inside?" And I'm looking at him, and he's waiting for an answer. And in my mind, I'm saying, "Dude, dude." I'm thinking, and I stopped myself. I'm pretty proud of that moment. I'm not too proud of no, actually, I'm going to be very honest with you. At what I did after, I'm not proud of. I'm not proud of the Sean Penn thing necessarily. I wish I would have controlled myself. Um, so he says that he's waiting for my answer, Mark, and I'm like, my mind, like it's calculated. I'm like, holy shit, this guy. And so I end up saying, actually, and I did it just like that, very natural. I said, actually, I'm not from around here, so I don't know. And he looked at me back and he says, "I'm not from around here either."
What do you do with that? I mean, what do you do with that?
I mean, when he said that, I was like, it was like, well, now we've gotten past that.
Yeah.
Tell me some stuff, man. Come on. But I didn't do that. I said, and I walked away. But
Mhm.
as I walked away and he walked inside to do whatever, I was like, holy smoke. So you know what I did? I turned around, walked back into the supermarket, and peeked along the aisle as I'm walking on the other aisle just to have one more look like a voyeur. I was like, holy smokes, I just met Ether Sutherland, and so it was a funny thing. It was a funny thing. Yeah.
I've had occasional brushes with celebrities, living in and around Reno. You bump into people here and there. I mean, they get some major acts come through and play the casinos or play the local venues or the big concert venues or what have you. So, I mean, there are celebrities here and there, but I guess my favorite stories have come from people who were very well acquainted with celebrities. Like I've told you about a good friend of my wife and mine. Her first husband was a genuine, by God, rock star. And
Yeah.
the stories that she would tell about just weird things and how she was not of that world, but marrying him and becoming a part of that world. She's like, you have absolutely no idea what it's like for a Southern California girl to suddenly end up over in England, sleeping in a genuine castle,
Yeah.
and then get up in the morning, come down in your robe, and sitting on your sofa is Robert Plant, Michael Caine, and Mick Jagger. And your husband going, "Oh, coffee's made, it's in the kitchen," you know. She says, "You have absolutely no idea what it's like, how many times a week your mind gets blown by being around that kind of a world." So I don't know. But listening to her, I could listen to her tell stories all day long. You know,
It's amazing.
that's a lot of fun. And it's one of those things of like, so you mean even being around all that, you get starstruck? She goes, "Heck yeah." She goes, "I'm not a celebrity." They
Mhm.
were.
Even when you're, even if you listen to these interviews, they all act giddy. Even like the big time rock and rollers, when they meet another rock and roller
Mhm,
that they look up to, they're
mhm.
all sorts of,
Oh yeah,
flush.
yeah. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that. I was listening to an interview, kind of half watching it, when you popped in here into the studio to do this recording tonight. That's what I had to shut off when you popped in. Dave Grohl, um, talking about, it's just an interview and talking about how unbelievable this stuff is to him, in that he he got invited to sit in on a session, and he was doing sound checks, and he's sitting there on the drums just kind of tapping along. He says, and I'm just trying to warm up, and I'm trying to, get my foot going, and I'm trying to settle in, and I'm playing along and getting everything. He says, and I kind of look up, and out on stage there's Prince, and all of a sudden he's just kind of, he's watching me, and I'm sitting here just playing along. He says, all of a sudden Prince looks over to the bass player and says, "Give me that bass." And he puts it on, and he just starts jamming with him while he is warming up on the drums. And he says they just jammed along and goofed around for about a good 10 minutes doing this sound check. And then Prince takes the bass off and picks up a guitar, and he says, "I'm going to play Whole Lot of Love." And off they went. Da, 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 da. And so Dave started following him on the drums, da, 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 and just kept going. And at the end, Prince says, "We need to play that on stage. What are you doing Friday night?" And it's like, what? But he's sitting there going, "How the hell does this happen to me? This kind of stuff doesn't happen to me. What the hell is going on?" So
See, it's weird. Well, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, you take somebody who arguably at the top of his game, getting starstruck over meeting somebody else. It kind of brings it back around to where it's relatable.
It's weird, and I just one insight on that. You could see how a door is opened all of a sudden if you happen to be dropped in a certain scenario. You're accepted by the greater group of that scenario, roughly speaking, because you've gained a certain key into that world, be it music or just like you can even go simple, even within the woodworking world or the
Mhm.
maker community.
Yeah.
There's also, and so like for instance, we know a bunch of people,
Mhm.
creative people within the woodworking community, and so it's kind of like it's not an. It wouldn't be crazy if someone come up to you within the community and say, "Mark, can you do a show with me?"
Mhm.
And now here's the flip. Here's the addition to that. For you, it would be normal, but some dude that's a woodworker in the making that watches your guys' videos um with awe, to them that's like holy smokes, so it's like these perspective changes, and if they get dropped into that world by happenstance or because of a close friend or whatever, it's like this you're in
Yeah.
that world. So it's funny, the David Grohl thing. He's famous already,
Mhm. Yes.
but he still has his shock and awe with all these and I can see it Like there would be no. Bob came down,
Hmm.
uh, and I'm looking at Bob, and this was the most wonderful thing. It was
Yeah.
the most wonderful experience of my life because it's Bob right in front of me, and so and of course Bob's a normal guy, just like everybody else. We're all human beings, but it's the context of of the
Yeah.
wonder of it. So if you were to appear, or JP, like when he
Hmm.
did, I was like,
Yeah.
holy smokes,
Yeah.
this is like. This is like JP's like right freaking in front of me, and it's
Yeah.
a spectacular thing. So
Yeah.
it's funny how that works.
I met Jamie in Atlanta in 2017, probably the week before he went down to Miami and met you.
Okay.
And but I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who anybody was. I knew some of the big names, but other than that, I didn't know who anybody was. And when I met up with my guru Dave Gatton, it was exactly like that. Holy crap! He's right there in front of me. He's literally right there in front of
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You know, somebody you had never met. We talk back and forth like this all the time, but I had never been in the same building. I'd never been in the same state with the guy, not knowingly anyhow.
Yeah.
So it is
It's weird.
it is a little bit different, but it's also kind of fun to see big stars like that get giddy about meeting other stars
Yeah.
and knowing that they get starstruck just as much as the rest of us kind of gives them back a little bit of their humanity to me because
Yeah.
it's and our friend can definitely vouch for this. It's real easy to get caught up in all the hype
Yeah.
because the way she explained it was when you get famous like that, all your obstacles are removed for you. She
Mm.
said, you're sitting backstage and you say, man, I'd like to have a Coke right about now. Suddenly there was a Coca Cola. She doesn't know who bought it. She doesn't know where it came from.
It's
She
magic.
doesn't know nothing. It's there. You don't have to wait in line. People go do things for you that you would normally have to go do yourself. You get up out of your chair and you go to do something like, where are you going? What are you doing? Oh, I was going to go make a sandwich. Boom, here comes the sandwich.
Yeah.
No, sit down. What do you want? Oh, I was thinking tuna fish. Okay. And bang, there's a tuna fish sandwich. So it's easy to get caught up in that.
I don't know what band it was. I think it was Led Zeppelin. I could be wrong. It could have been Guns N' Roses. I'm not sure, but I read it a couple of times where in the contract to play at a venue,
Mhm.
the band would request the most ridiculous sort of like backstage items, and they then qualified it and said the reason we did that, or the manager said, I forget the details. They
Mhm.
said they did that so that if any of the things that they put in the contract weren't there, they could have a legal stance in case anything else went to heck,
Mhm.
where they could basically get out of the contract, or paying X amount or whatever.
Mhm.
I forget who it was, but I did read that.
Well, a lot of artists and a lot of, actors or, musicians, performers, what have you, um, they will put writers like that in their contract, looking for goofy stuff, wanting goofy stuff,
Yeah,
just simply for the same reason. As I've, as you said, if there's anything wrong at all, they have legal recourse should something really terrible go wrong.
yeah. They can basically say sorry, folks,
Yeah,
we can't have none of this.
exactly. But then again, I can see where it would be easy to start believing your own hype just simply because, like I said, all of your obstacles are removed by other people. So you start to feel kind of entitled. Well, yesterday I had a sandwich delivered. What about today? That kind of thing.
It's
Where's
not
it's 11 o'clock. Where's my lunch?
it's not normal. Also, well, who knows what normal is? Well, it's not. No, it's not. Who knows what? No, it's not normal for a human being, or at least for most human beings, to be waited on hand and foot,
No.
or nor recognized on. It's the normal thing is to be anonymous, just another person in the crowd, um, and you're only recognized when you approach the other person in order to exchange money for an item you're about to purchase or a service that you're requesting,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, or a friend that you might, and that of course
Mm-hmm.
is a normal thing, but for the crowd around you
Yeah.
to all turn their heads in your direction when you walk into a place randomly
Mm-hmm.
has to be messed up.
Yeah.
Because there's a thing. I'll just say this one thing about that. And I was actually studying this this week, or this angle. Um, we don't. We're all sort of voyeuristic, or not sort of. We're all voyeuristic. We look at people, and we're detailing what people, their habits, maybe their story. We do that through movies and such, and whatever. Um, but we're objectivizing people,
Yes.
looking at them and studying them. But turning that around, we don't like to be objects, um, for other people to look at us
Right.
as entertainment value in that aspect where you're the focus, in terms of, your privacy, just your life. You're
Yeah.
an object now, and that's an unsettling thing for human beings. You know, so
Very unsettling, and how troubling that can be, because we do it all the time, and we talked about it before. In fact, I led with the discussion when I was talking about why we get so invested with celebrities, and especially with YouTube channels. At the time I was talking about, I'm following this couple who was renovating a house that was built in the early 1800s. But
yeah,
people get so invested in the people, they start losing track and losing sight of the project. Well, it is a part of that with celebrity as well, in that we've been watching these people our entire lives, but they're absolute strangers. We think we know them.
but we don't.
You might know what Paul McCartney has for breakfast every morning, but he doesn't know squat about you. So
Right,
we are total strangers. So putting myself in the same position where Sean Penn comes walking up to your airboat and you go, "Oh, hey, Sean," you knew his name. He had no idea what yours was.
right.
So he was very much at the disadvantage, and you got to wonder how unsettling that is.
It
I
and
mean,
that's exactly it. That it must be, he must be used to it, but it must be because you're looked at as an object. Now, mind you, I don't look at people like objects in person that I can think of. I don't know how true that is 100%, but I can immediately obviously recognize they're a human being,
mhm,
and there's respect and certain things and this and that. But the added issue of them being known to you.
uh-huh.
So if you came up to me out of nowhere, like you're visiting Miami, let's say, I'm gonna automatically say, "Hey, Mark." I'm not gonna say, "Hey, sir," like I'm not gonna start that process because I already know you, right? You're
Yeah,
not necessarily, a Hollywood,
uh-huh.
trendsetter and this and that, but I
Right.
know you. So there's a same thing. I know that the guy's name is Sean, but for him, it's got to be too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
It's got to be too much. It's got to be too much. It's just,
Well, taking it back full circle to that song Rush by Rush, Limelight,
yeah.
um, that one lyric, "I can't pretend a stranger is a long awaited friend." And because it's all about celebrity. The song is all about being the star. you know,
Incredible.
and how strange it is, you know. I don't
Well,
know.
there's some celebrities. There's a lot of. Okay, I'll give you one last one. Depending on, because remember you also mentioned that it depends on. Well, you actually mentioned that not everybody knows the things that you think that would be obvious for others to know with rock bands and whatnot. You said,
Yeah,
um, there's also actors in that in that
yeah.
category where they're actors, but you have no idea that they're. And then there's some that they're actors because you've seen them,
Hmm.
but you don't know their name, their
Yeah.
history, like nothing. But you do know they've starred in major Hollywood films.
Hmm.
I've come across a few of those.
Hmm.
I don't know who their names. I even forget what frickin' movie they acted in, but I look at them and said, "Oh, this is that actor." That happened twice to me. We were closing up the shop out in the Everglades, and along comes a car with like the most like happy young people, young adults, like just California dreaming type vibe too. Like
Hmm.
no care, no, and we're all grungy and mud and frickin', like it's like the movies, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We were basically the Texas Chainsaw, and these kids were like all pristine and whatnot, and like little beach ball if you could have it. And out comes this actress, famous actress, that to this day I couldn't tell you who she is specifically, but the face, the everything, it's her.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, there you go. I can't say, hey, so
Yeah.
and so, I know you're, and I'm not gonna go up in that case.
Who
And,
are you?
yeah, who are you? I've seen you somewhere, because that's just as, I don't know if it's just as bad because they
Hmm.
probably don't get noticed as much, but it's not
Well,
great. Because imagine somebody, you know, you're an actor. I know you're an actress. I've seen you somewhere. Your face. You imagine a
yeah.
stranger. You imagine a stranger coming to Mark Lindsay, right? Like
Hmm.
somewhere at the lumberyard. Says, you know what? The face, the face. I can almost put my finger on it. The face, the face, the face. And you're
Well,
standing there trying to do your life, and this guy is,
but I don't know about you, but I've had that happen where somebody'd say, "Have we met before? I know you from somewhere."
yeah,
And I'm like, I was born here. You've probably seen me around,
yeah,
and well, maybe that's it. I don't know, but you look familiar. I've had that happen,
yeah.
uh, but I've also done that to other people. So it's like, I think we've met somewhere before, standing next to somebody in line and just keep looking at the person. I'm sorry, I don't mean to stare, but have we met before? You look very familiar to me. No, I don't know, you know. But then again, I have bumped into people that where have we met before? Yeah, I think we have. Well, gee, was it at so and so's wedding? You know, oh yeah, it was. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I'm such and such's cousin. Oh, okay. Well, I'm such and such's cousin. Oh, all right. Hey,
Well,
they're still together. That kind of thing.
well, let me throw this weird one at you, Mark. I hope you've had this experience, but if you haven't, you haven't.
Okay.
How about, so that's, I get that one where
Hmm.
there's no clarity until
Hmm.
clarity occurs.
Yeah.
But how about somebody that comes up to you? This has happened to me, and they come right up to you and they say, "Hey, Mark, how's it going, dude? Oh, so and so and this and that and you're standing there looking at them, and you have no idea who the heck they are."
Twice it's happened to
Oh
me.
my
Yes.
god! Tell me that's not internally embarrassing and frustrating.
It is. It's incredibly frustrating. There's been a couple times that okay, yeah, catch you later. Here we go. And I turn, I look at Linda and say, I have no clue who that is. I don't know. I have no idea who that
That is
was.
so awesome. Are you serious though? But wait a second. This is my question though. So that's good. I'm happy that did you play along or try to just
Yeah, I
sort of
played along. Yeah,
holy
I was backpedaling like a son of a gun. It's just like, oh, okay, well,
dude,
yeah, all
dude, I
right.
love it. You know what I love most about this is that you had to put on your acting skills to sort of navigate those dangerous waters because you don't want to offend the person because
Right.
obviously they have a caring enough about you
Well,
that they know your name, and so your brain is calculating all these things real quick, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not going to offend this person. Obviously, I should know them. It's
uh-huh.
such a screwed up
Well,
situation,
there was
Mark.
an added layer involved in that. In it, at the time, I was also selling real estate. So I didn't know if this was somebody who I had bumped into at the office. Did I show their house? Did I show them a house? So I just have to play along like I've known them my entire life, hoping like heck I don't say something wrong.
It's
Because
so
this could
good.
mean a sale. So it's like, oh, well, man. So did you get to go fishing last week? No, I had to do this in the yard and I had to go do that in the yard and all that. How about you? Did you get out on the lake? Yeah, man, we went off to the river and we did that.
Dude.
Just in my entire, I'm going through the Rolodex in my brain the entire time going, nope. That face don't match. Nope, that face don't match. Nope, that face don't match.
I wonder. So when you told Linda, because these are classic situations here.
Mhm,
When you told Linda after the fact,
mhm,
and I bet you were puckered on your way back to the. You were thinking, what the heck just happened? Because it's happened to me, Mark, and I
mhm,
leave with goose pimples, like shocked, like I feel
mhm.
like I feel like bad, and embarrassed. I feel like just like I've been stripped naked and put in front of like a crowd of people. I feel just so. Did you when you told Linda that like, I don't know who the heck that was. Did she even give off the hint that you appeared natural or not natural in your conversation?
No,
Because that's
she
something.
never. No.
Because it must have looked natural. You see, because okay, that judges
Mhm,
how natural in this very awkward situation you were
mhm.
able, from the outside perspective, you were able to be hit, because it's not normal, dude. Such a
No, I
weird.
know.
It's so weird.
I would be like, I have no idea who that is. Let's get out of here before they come back, and then, kind of, if you can leave, leave. If you can't leave, kind of maneuver around to another area out of eyesight.
I just
I
spat
just,
all over myself.
I have no idea who that was. She just started laughing. That's all. She just
It's
started laughing.
it's
You know,
hilarious, dude.
I have no clue who that is.
It's happened to me too, Mark, and same thing, dude. It's
Mhm,
it's like they say, "Hey, Eloy," and here's the problem, Mark. When somebody knows my name, Eloy, and it could be any name, but the fact that they know my name, and my name's not that common, and this and that, I have to really take a little bit of time and acknowledge that this person is acknowledging me, and I don't know who they were. They can, hey, what's going on, Eloy? And I'm like, and I gave back the, hey, what's going on? But I was like, that he knows more information about me than I do of him. Who is this person? So embarrassing, dude.
Yeah,
So embarrassing.
it's not a good feeling, but
Oh my goodness.
get the heck out of there as fast as I can, and then just laugh about it later on.
Yeah.
And she'd be like,
Um.
well, did he just come up and start talking to you? Yeah, he walked up, called me by name. I don't know who it was, but he knew who I was.
So I mean, I can feel it. Like I can recall it immediately.
Yeah. Or
Um.
the other one is where you know the person. You know who they are. They come up, start talking, and you guys are BSing. I know your entire life story.
Yeah.
I can't for the life of me think of what the hell your name is.
Oh, that's happened too.
That one is real embarrassing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a good wingman on that mission, you're
You are.
going down in flames.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know.
bad one too, dude.
Mm.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness. Yeah, because not remembering someone's name is a very, you know,
Mm.
we're not perfect, but it is a kind of insulty, because it's such a point of respect to, at the very least, hey Mark, hey Elo. It's like the most basic, but our brains
Yeah.
sometimes it all goes haywire,
Yeah. Exactly.
Goodness,
Exactly.
dude.
And and
Those are
and and
embarrassing.
and, and that happens to me all the time with words.
Okay, yeah.
And it makes me mad. It frustrates the heck out of me because I mean, I know what it is. I can pick it
Yeah.
up. I can hold it in my hand. I can show it to you. I can hand it to you. You can hold it in your hand. I got no clue what the heck it's called. You know.
Yeah.
I can't remember the word for it. Or I'll sit here and I'll stumble over something trying to remember a word, and just I focus on it so intensely that my entire train of thought just goes right out the window, and I don't even remember why the hell I needed to know the word. So not only do I not know the word, I don't know why I wanted to know it, and I can't remember what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And that only happens on a day that ends with Y. You know, it's
Yeah.
just it's all the time.
It's brain quirks, and you know what are we gonna do? It's just
Well,
it
I was really sweating it. I mean, I was in my 40s, and yeah, 45, 46, something like that. And a friend of a friend of a friend kind of a thing is a psychologist. And I did the typical thing, I start pouring my heart out to this guy about, Jesus, is there something wrong? I mean,
yeah.
I'm really getting nervous. He's like, Mark, okay, are you worried about it? I said, yeah. He said, does it scare you? And I said, yeah. He says, you're fine. So what do you mean I'm fine? Because the only thing I can think of is Alzheimer's, right? He says, dude, if there was a problem, you'd never know it. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, you would be frustrated at the time. But if you really had an issue with long or short term memory, that frustration would go away. You wouldn't understand why you were frustrated, and you would forget the event entirely. If it bothers you, you're fine. And I'm like, okay, well, I still don't have to like it. He says, oh, no, you don't have to like it. And it's going to cheese you off. But so long as it cheeses you off, you're fine.
Um.
Okay.
So they also say that about like insanity.
Mm-hmm.
If a person, I don't know how true this is, but if a person asks themselves or questions of, "Am I sane?" That's a surefire way of knowing that you're sane. Because now it doesn't mean that you're standard. You could be a quirky kind of person, but if you ask yourself, "Are you sane?" The question reveals and the mirror being turned inward, and that aspect of things of turning the mirror inward um, is an indication that you're not that far gone. As
Yeah.
gone as you might think you are.
Well, yeah, just something simple as stupid as, am I wrong here? Am I the problem? You know,
Right. Right.
am I
If
wrong
if
about
if
this?
you question yourself, any questioning of yourself,
Mhm.
it's a good thing. I mean, then again, there's people that over question themselves, but it's a good thing because it shows that you can turn the reflection inward. Not a lot of people. I'm coming to the realization that I can't say not a lot of people. There is a certain amount of people that is noticeable that might have the disadvantage of not being able to be introspective um, at all. And the danger of that is that then you deal with other people from your reference point only.
Yeah.
And so you might be perceived as X, Y, and Z, and so on and so on. But I wanted to say, as far as the memory thing and the ability to pull words, there's a DNA category for that. There are category, and that they do they test for. Some are not conclusive, others are. There's one called word word speaking ability and word saying ability, or correct. There's variations on the theme. There are people that can't reproduce perfectly. It's not that they don't get it all anytime at all. It's that sometimes they don't get it right enough where the word on the page or the word that they're going to say for a given item doesn't come out right.
I'm the king of that.
Well, there's actually a propensity for that. There's a test for that, but there's also another one that's within the realm where people will read. So you could be an awesome reader, but you can also pronounce the words incorrectly,
Yeah.
and even that they've been able to. It's not 100% thing, but there's
Yeah.
genetic leanings of all these.
Proclivities.
Yes, of all these different varieties. Um, so so they're studying and they've noticed that a lot of genetic stuff just simply happens to be things that push us to one direction or the other, but that they're within the scope of human, things
In
that
in your DNA.
yeah, and it's in within the
Okay.
context of the human population. So,
Yeah.
there will be people that do what you do,
Hmm.
and then on the other hand, there will be people that'll take and read a text. In fact, hell, there's one for even reading at all, like
Hmm.
proper reading at all. So there's different ones. There's
Well,
people that just can't,
but it
get it
goes
together.
beyond reading, because if I'm just speaking, and that's why I keep saying the wrong word is my thing, because I know what I want to say, but I may twist one word and get it wrong. Like if I mean to say the word relevant, I may say the word relative. And in my mind, I'm thinking relative, but what comes out is, or no, I'm thinking relevant, but what comes out of my mind is relative. And I just did it just there. Um, Earlier today, I was shooting a video and I meant to say, I'm going to cut this out of this piece. And what I said was, I'm going to cut this out of these pieces. And there was one piece there.
Oh,
So I know what I wanted to say. And in my mind, I said it right. But when I look back at the video, no, I said these pieces instead of this piece. So I get to
yeah.
put the little correction blurb on the video. And, what the heck?
It's a very weird thing. I mean, I guess we're rounding home, but
Yeah.
there's a very weird thing about that,
Mhm.
um, where here you are filming. So here you are. I mean, I know everybody nowadays does that because
Uh-huh.
that's the world of YouTube. But here you are, Mark,
Mhm.
filming yourself and doing like a script or whatever, let's say, of the things you've got to say to lay out for your video. But you're doing that with a camera pointing where in theory there would be a person dealing with that,
Mhm.
and you're just dealing with your bit and all this and that. But then now you're taking that and sitting at your computer and reviewing the stuff that you did before. Obviously, we're all doing that more or less now, in this new world that we live in.
Sure.
But we're going to, whereas in a normal situation we would have said it and we've been done with it and it's
Yeah.
done. And if it came out wrong, but now we have this extra thing of reviewing as
Mhm.
many times as we want. And we're also going to find, I know what you're saying because I've heard you do that before, but we're going to find an enormous amount of things that don't quite match up, and the
Right.
meanings and the intention. It's just the whole thing. I'm telling you, it's like an alien.
It is.
Yeah, yeah,
It's an entirely different thing, because I'm sitting here for the last hour. You and I have been speaking just natural back and forth. And I've
right.
made a lot of mistakes. I always do. And I know it. And I just move on. I don't care. I, I enjoy it like watching the cars go by on a train. You know, it happens. And, it's of no consequence once it's passed.
Yeah.
But now with I used to really go all in on this stuff. And I would be, when I first started this, I would be back outside reshooting that.
Okay.
You know, now I don't. I don't bother. I'll throw up a
Okay.
correction on the screen, a text correction. And
Right. Right.
sometimes I won't even do that. Sometimes I just let it go. And
Well, but
you'd be surprised at how little people care about things like that. I only do it when it could cause confusion. But if I say the wrong word in passing, most folks just don't care. A lot doesn't register to a lot of people. And so I don't obsess over it anymore. It just, okay, it came and went. No big deal. Well, I screwed that up, but I just keep editing.
well, in so there's a couple of things. So we have you doing a video for whatever amount of time, and it's a body of, calling it a body of work. It's a body of work and all this information inside of it. And then there's the gist
Uh-huh.
of your body of work within that video,
Yeah.
the trajectory, and then
Hmm.
there's the nuances that can have all
Well,
these different variations that could create one error here, this and that. But the gist is
mhm.
packaged in the whole video, Um, you know what I'm saying? But it
Yeah.
depends. Like, if let's say this were a medical procedure and you wrote the
Oh,
wrong thing, there's
oh,
situations.
oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. But, in fact, I may not even correct that with the little text correction on the video. I may just leave it alone.
did I
Um,
freeze or you froze?
looks like I froze here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. But yeah, my video froze. Okay. Well, nothing I can say about that.
That's weird. There, I switched
Boom.
this and I switched this back. There, you're not frozen no
Wow.
more.
Okay. That's interesting.
But it's funny because we're talking about all these different variations of things messing up and this and that,
Yeah.
and
And that one wasn't me. What do you know? But I probably won't even change that because it's not important. I said these pieces when I should have said this piece.
no,
I,
you
I
can't
don't
change
think
it
any
because
I don't think anybody would care because they know because you know what I mean.
exactly.
You know.
Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, now you
Yeah.
can be very picky, and do go back and do all
And I
that. And
used to be, but not anymore.
yeah, there's room for that. Now, some people, like, look, dude, like in music, these musicians, like a Doobie Brothers,
Hmm.
with their like, let's say with their quality of like CD output
Uh-huh.
or CD output, music output, um, you know that these people are like with a magnifying glass in each and every little section, because the way it ends up coming out, it's like you couldn't find a scratch. Now if you go to someone like a blues player, you're going
Uh-huh.
to hear all sorts of screwed up things in their album, but you're getting the gist of it, and
Yeah,
you might
and
enjoy it more.
that's also what makes it real.
Right.
There's a grit to it. There's
Yeah.
a lifelike. These are people. They don't sound mechanical.
Yeah.
These are people. There's a warmth there, and I get it. We all love to hear absolutely flawless sound coming out of our headphones or our speakers or what have you. But
Yeah.
sometimes you do feel like rolling in the dirt a little bit.
That's
And
true.
if you get a little bit of feedback or an amplifier starts buzzing, just adds to the ambiance.
Yeah.
It's more lifelike.
I think that's a good place I think that that's a perfect wrap
Okay.
for what we've
Okay.
discussed today. Um, so let me do the outro here. Um, we go live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific time. We're the Trampled Underfoot podcast show, and yeah, every Tuesday over here we do this. We do have a website, trampledunderfootpodcast.com. You can check out our past episodes over there. We also have a page over on Facebook, so you can check out the things we post on there, which are usually either videos or pictures of the topics that we discuss here in the show. We're also sponsored by.
Harneal Media, your web solution. Steve Nealon is the man. If you're looking to establish a web presence, if you have a web presence and you're looking to strengthen it, talk to Steve Nealon. He is your guy. He can help you set up a web store so you can sell your merchandise, your products, your services, or he can hook you up with a print on demand company to help you design your merch, t-shirts, hats, coffee mugs, whatever you'd like, and get them put up on a web store. He specializes in websites for makers and the maker community, but he'll more than willing to talk to you too. So that's Steve Nealon at Harneal Media. That's HARNEAL media.com, sponsor of trampledunderfootpodcast.com.
Folks, have a great week. Be safe, and we'll catch you here next time at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. See ya.
Peace. I'll be able to see that break.
It makes it so much easier, dude. It makes it so much easier.
We use different editing software, I think, because I can spot the break real fast. But
I'm still
it's
dealing with getting Photoshop. I found a Photoshop online
hmm
that's online. You can play with it and has
hmm
most of the features. Like by most, I mean like just almost all of them,
hmm
online, and just you can mess with it there. But it's not the same thing because um,
yeah,
there is lag, and that's an annoying thing.
yeah,
So it's not fun to use it like that. But in a pinch, it's there.
yeah. It
Yeah,
works, but only just.
yeah.
Okay. Let's cruise up here and see what we got. We don't have a whole heck of a lot of comments this time. It's kind of strange. Um I guess you already answered that. Jamie, JP Woodwork wants to know, is Eloy growing his beard back? Please say yes.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I am for now, but it's not. It's. I've always done that all my life.
Yeah,
Uh,
I called it crop rotation, but mine kept coming back whiter and whiter and whiter, and finally I just shaved it off. I didn't like it anymore. Yeah. Fair warning, if you keep shaving it off and letting it grow back, yours is going to turn white as well.
but I've been doing it, Mark. I've been doing this for the better part of 30 some odd years, on and off,
So
and
did I.
it's not until I've gotten older
hmm
that my beard's gotten whiter.
Dude, I
So
was snow white by the time I hit 45 because I kept shaving it off and growing it back.
yeah,
And it my hair isn't white, your hair isn't white, but your beard is starting to turn white.
yeah.
If
That's
it
still
if my beard would kept coming back in the same color as when I shaved it off, I'd have been a happy guy. I'd still have a beard. But
well. This white is a show of the age, and as you grow older, it's a mark of, boy, this person's been through some stuff.
yeah,
The whiter the beard, you're like, man, this person,
yeah,
boy.
but you better be careful because people will be looking at you going, "Stay thirsty, my friends."
I'll tell you what. It's funny. As this was growing out, and I got all the gray. I went and did the supermarket, and there was two guys there. From my perspective, I'm looking at two guys. I know they're younger than me and whatnot by a lot, but
hmm
I'm not thinking in terms of I'm not old, right?
hmm
Which that's a relative thing. But at the end of my purchase, the guy bags the stuff up. He says, and it's like three bags. And he says, "Sir, would you like some help towards the car for the car?" And I looked at the guy and I said, "Dude," I said, "You know what? I'm not gonna say maybe soon, but not yet. I can still deal with it, dude." So I had a little moment there. I had a little moment there. But he asked out of kindness, but
Yeah.
who knows what in his mind, looking at me, he said, "This guy needs some help." We don't, it's hilarious.
I think I told you about this story, and I may have talked about it on the podcast before. I don't remember, but it was a wake up call for me. Um, Same situation. I was at the grocery store. I had one bag,
Yeah,
and the courtesy clerk bagging my groceries was a young guy, 19, maybe 18,
yeah,
and he's in a wheelchair. And he says, "Do you need help out to the car with this?" And my initial thought was, "Nah, no, I got it." And I said thanks, and I carried it off and went outside. And I got to thinking, how how bad can my life really be? Here's a guy in a wheelchair asking me, do I need help?
yeah,
How bad can my life really be? And that kind of messed with my head for a little bit. But then it also kind of struck me that, well, maybe he wanted to get the hell out of the store for a bit,
yeah,
you know. So it was a couple months later, same thing, same bagger, and he said, "You need help out to the car with this?" I had one bag, and I'm like, "Yeah, come on." And the look on his face was like, "Really?" And we got out, outside the door, and I kind of turned around, looked behind us, and I said, "I figured you probably needed some time out of the store by now." He says, Yeah, it is a welcome break. And I said, well, I'll slow down if you want. And he's like, no, 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 we're cool. We're cool. And, kind of BS. Got to the car, said, okay, thanks. Tipped him and split. And he went back off in. But when you got somebody in a wheelchair asking you if you need help out to your car with one bag, I mean, it makes you kind of reevaluate things.
Later,
So,
later, Jim.
all right.
That is a good. I'm sorry, Mark. I didn't mean to, but
No, that's quite all right.
that is an important thing, though. And that self reflection. I mean, because it's a truism. You're right. Um,
We get caught up in our own little worlds sometimes, and we think we're having it so rough, but then there's somebody else, man, that's going to have it rougher than you. So,
dude. So this is not the same, but it's within the world of supermarkets. I'm walking. So I drive up to this months ago. I drive up to my supermarket parking lot, and I get out, and I'm walking, and on the corner, slightly in front of the supermarket, are two. I don't know how the heck, because I mean this is new for Miami. Two gypsies, full regalia,
mhm.
with an electric violin playing the saddest
Mm-mm.
melancholy muse. And as I'm walking, I mean, I literally, my eyes, it was not emotional, but it's depressing. And in the parking lot, I mean, they're probably destroying the supermarkets, because it's depressing, dude. And they're playing, it made no sense. It was out of context within the structure of, I just found it odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I was talking about my wife and my friend, and my wife jumped in here. Linda says, I was talking about our friend who was married to a rock star, talking about sitting between George Harrison and Sting at a concert one night. Her husband, their band was playing Royal Albert Hall,
Amazing.
and she went up into the box. She got there a little bit late and went and sat down at her seat, and it's dark. There's bands performing on stage and what have you, and it's dark there in the audience. And she starts talking to this one guy on the left and another guy on the right, and they're just chatting along during the performances. And intermission comes up and the lights come up, and she looks over, and the guy on her left is George Harrison and the guy on her right is Sting.
It's insanity.
And she, had no idea that that's who she was talking to. But they sat there and just gabbed and BS'd about the show and what was going on, and all this other kind of stuff. Just
It's
weird stuff. So let's see. Let's see. Frankie, I had a friend that was a guitar tech at a guitar center where I grew up. I went to pick up my guitar after work to find out my Strat was picked up and played by someone before I got there to pick it up.
oh wow, that's not nice.
Mm-hmm.
That is not well, unless it's the actual guitar tech.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
it's
I mean, unless it was some sort of quality control or something like that. But if it's just some customer coming, oh, let me check that out. No, that's a bunch of BS.
it would be worse if you had like melted chocolate left on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
and like hair like hair stuck to the.
Let's see. Jim Dockerell says, when I worked at a bar years ago, a girl came in and I saw her name on her team jacket as she checked it at the coat check. So I stopped her by name and started talking like we were old friends. Yeah. Did you get her phone number? He said, yeah, that messed her up. You could see the confusion. Yeah. Yeah. That would have messed me up too. Okay. He says, I did fess up to her after a few minutes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man.
Frankie explained further the situation.
Oh, did he? I didn't see it.
He says
I don't see it.
it was a famous guitar player, but I didn't know who it was.
Yeah. See, I don't see that at all on my screen.
Did you not see when I just clicked it?
Well, when you clicked it, yes, but I don't see it. I don't know why that comment is not here. See, now I've got a comment. Next down is a comment from Frankie's first one. This one here. Next one down is Jim Dockrell, the Van Halen M&Ms.
Okay.
And then Jim Dockrell talking about the worked at a bar years ago. So
Say something.
hello, am I
Okay.
still there?
No,
Okay.
no, it's more on my end. Because go ahead and say something again, like a few
Oh,
things.
yeah, we're really having. See, I was concerned that I was going to have technical issues because we're supposed to be having thunderstorms and
Yeah,
they haven't come through. So,
and we did at the end of the day have
mhm.
slight technical issues.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see. Down at the bottom now. Okay, it was a famous guitar player, but I didn't know who it was. See, I was still scrolled up, looking at up there. That's why I didn't see that. Okay.
See, the problem with that situation where he brings in his guitar. Well, wait a second. That's a problem. Because well, I've got. So here's the problem. Number one, you're not explaining. So number one, it would mess with my head to
Uh-huh.
wonder forever who it actually was. That's one thing. That's number
Yeah.
one. I could not. I don't know how I could deal with that.
Yeah.
But more importantly, how do you know that it was a famous guitar player that picked up and played your guitar? How do you know unless they said, "Hey, a famous." If they had the courtesy of telling you a famous player picked up and played it, they should have had the courtesy to tell you who the heck that famous player
Yeah,
was.
really.
Because for goodness sakes,
Or maybe they did and he just didn't remember.
well, that
Could
would
that,
be even
could
worse.
that be it, Frankie? Can't be that famous if you don't remember. I
They're
mean,
they're
I would remember.
yeah, and well, depending on no, even if it's not a famous whoever
Hmm.
whoever within the world of guitar, you would
Well,
still remember that.
but there were that's what I mean. There are certain things that you would remember. Like for instance, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I would damn sure remember if pick a guitarist. Joe Satriani picked up my guitar at the Guitar Center and played around with it for a little bit and then gave it back to the tech.
I'll
I would
never.
remember that.
It would never be lived down. It would be something to.
Exactly. You know, I've got a guitar in a case up here on a shelf right now that I bought from my platoon sergeant at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Okay.
It's Linda's guitar. I got it for her. Um, his name was Joel Parton. His cousin was Dolly Parton.
No,
She played that guitar
that's
on
awesome.
stage one time. I have no connection with Dolly Parton at all, but that's the famous story about that guitar. So I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. Well, but you do have that connection because you have the connection with the story, and that's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful
Exactly.
thing.
It doesn't mean anything to anybody else. It doesn't mean a thing to anybody else, but it does for us. Let's see. Roger the Tinker says the thing about not being able to remember is called old age. Yes, but it hit me in the 40s. It's called CRS. Use your imagination. Can't remember squat or something like that. So, okay, let's see. They filled me in. It was after the store was closed. I got there just in time to get it. The actual owner was in the store. They had grand opening that same year, so it was a strange bit of events. Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So you were left with the unknown.
Yep.
That sucks, though. I mean, well, no, it really. You know what it is? It's a frustrating.
Well, yeah, it's imagine this. The drill that you're using right now,
Mhm.
a world famous woodworker used that drill.
Yeah,
And
you,
that's all I'm going to tell you.
yeah, you're left hanging, dude, in the worst ways.
I know.
Because magic happened, but you can't quantify it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That has to be, Frankie. It has to be. It's an awesome story. I'm glad that you shared it but it also brings with it this problem of unresolved. Yeah, it's unresolved.
Yeah.
Dang it. And I'm not even. It wasn't even my guitar, and I'm like, well, who the heck could it have been? No, you're gonna have to track this story down, dude.
Or maybe they were just yanking his leg. I mean, that happens all the time too.
There's that as well. There's that as well. Although, I'm not because guitar stores are notorious places for rockers to come in randomly
Uh-huh.
across America. Well, I can't say across America, but I know that in Miami,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have, whatever level of guitar player come in,
Uh-huh.
B level or whatever, if there is such a thing.
Yeah.
And it's not an unknown because it's where guitar players go to hang out.
Yeah. Yeah. Guitar shops. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never know what you're going to find in your friendly local guitar shop. I mean, they
Yeah.
take oddball things in on trade. Case in point. Case in point. And it's a famous story. Everybody's heard it, I'm sure, but some folks might not have. So I'll say it anyway. Um, Christopher Cross, the king of yacht rock, took an old Fender Stratocaster into Ray Hennig's music store in Austin, Texas, and traded it in on a Gibson Les Paul because he wanted something with a little bit more punch to it, he said.
Okay.
And he traded it in, took his Gibson Les Paul, and off he went. The very next day, before their tech even had a chance to look at it, another young up and coming guitarist came in, saw it, and said, "Let me see that." Picked it up, started noodling around with it, and said, "I want it," and bought it the very next day. The tech never even looked at it.
Wow.
That guitarist was Stevie Ray Vaughan, and that guitar was later, he called it number one. That guitar used to belong to Christopher Cross.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That is amazing.
Yep. It was in his shop for less than 24 hours.
And that's the one with his logo on it and
With
whatnot.
SRV and all the paint worn off of it. And it was so beat up and tore up that he was in the process of replacing it when the worst happened. But
Amazing.
yep.
Okay, let's wrap this puppy up and head on down the track.
Yep, it's time. Boil water. It's time. Okay, I see.
Frankie did say, yeah.
Yeah, I guess they was back in the back talking. Dude picked it up noodling while he was waiting on his driver to take him to the airport. Oh, times is hard.
Wow.
When you got to wait for your driver to take you to the airport. Times is hard.
Well, you know what you could do? You could do a thorough investigation. You have to remember the time, when the day and time when you bought it,
Mm-hmm.
then cross-reference all the flights in your local
Well,
airport.
don't even have to do that. I'm sure they have surveillance tape.
Surveillance tape, and you can also do this. You could go and look at which concerts were playing that weekend.
Maybe he was on vacation.
Oh, well, now that complicates things.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go to all the hotels in your region
Uh-huh.
and look and ask them to go into their backlog files.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully they're computerized, and look through their logs.
Yeah.
Boy, this is now, if you could discover that, Frankie, and you went through that trouble and you filmed it like a YouTube video, I guarantee you millions of views. I tracked down think of this. I tracked down the famous guitar player, the famous guitar player that played my guitar. That would be 1 million views plus.
See, now what you got to do is you got to change your display name here to Laranca El Dick Tracy.
He said one more thing.
Okay. I know the whole story. I'm just trying to get proof to verify my story for others. Oh, okay. So you know who it is. You're just not sharing it. All right, fine. I see how it goes. Yeah. All right. All right. No problem.
Well, it's an interesting thing. So if you're doing that
Hmm.
and you made a video, I mean, you do it as professional as you can with that theme.
Hmm.
I don't see how people will not watch it. I think that that will be a million
Hmm.
view video, in my opinion.
Hey, you never know. You never know.
You're going to capture people that like investigations. You're going to capture people that like music and musicians alike. Plus the famous guy. They're going to want to see the crescendo moment, the epic, of
Hmm.
the reveal, the big reveal. So totally, I like the idea, dude. Freaking a lot of work involved there, though. I'll tell you what. But
Yep.
all right, let's leave it on that high note. We'll catch you all next time.
Yep.
Same bat channel. See yous.
Peace.